Hi everyone, so today we're going to be talking about speeches and gifts that are to be given out at your wedding. So I'm going to go through traditionally how you would set up the speeches for the wedding breakfast. Normally the first person to speak would be the father of the bride. His role is basically to say a few words about the bride, usually a little bit embarrassing, but obviously very loving, and then to go and have a conversation about the groom or their partner and welcome them into the family. And also, if there is a few little embarrassing bits to say there, that's often a good time. We like to keep things fun. We don't want them to be too embarrassing. The next person to speak is the groom. Now, for all grooms or partners watching, this is very, 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 very important information. It is your job to tell your bride or your partner how beautiful or handsome they look on the day. It's very, 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 very important. It also is good for video as well later on. It's something that everybody in the room is looking for, so please don't forget it. I've seen it forgotten many times where you see the bride afterwards be like, oh, you didn't say I look beautiful. The women are expecting to hear this, so as a note to all grooms, you are expected to drop that one in. Also, this is the perfect opportunity to say all of your thank yous. So the thank yous would go to anyone that helped put the day on, anyone that helped to get the bride ready, including the bridesmaids, a thank you to the groomsmen, a nod to any flower girls, etc. And traditionally, this is the point at which presents are given. So the presents that are given at this point usually is to the mothers in the forms of bouquets and to the fathers in the forms of maybe, a bottle of something or some cufflinks or things like that. More often than not, the bridesmaids have already received their gifts in the morning and the groomsmen have already received their gifts. If they haven't, this is then the opportunity to then give them those gifts. Again, obviously you don't have to give out gifts at this point, but it is generally expected that those are the people that would receive gifts. Gifts also can be given to anyone, particularly if someone did all the flowers or the hair and the makeup for the day, someone that's gone over and above to help you for your wedding. This is a moment to thank them, acknowledge them, and give them a little gift of something or other. Flower girls and page boys often also get something at this point, and quite often it's quite cute to do like a little teddy or a little photo or an album or something that they can keep with them as a memento of your wedding. After this point, it is then generally handed over to the best man, who is then able to give a speech, again, usually slightly embarrassing the groom. However, please try to make sure it's tasteful. It can be super awkward at a wedding when the best man says something highly inappropriate that doesn't make people laugh. So it's a good idea to get someone to check the best man's speech just to make sure that it does still have an element of taste, even though it can be in good humor. So those are the three speeches that are traditionally done. Now, obviously in same-sex weddings, you can decide, maybe you want someone from each side of the family to speak. Maybe you would like to have the maid of honor speak instead of the best man. We've seen it quite often where actually the bride gets up and says a few words. There's no wrong or right way to do it. However, it's really, really, really important that you keep your guests in mind. Speeches sometimes can be very long. It's quite good to tell the person who is doing the speech that their speech should be limited to maybe 3 to 5 minutes, particularly if you're going to have a lot of speeches. I've seen a wedding where there were 6 speeches and I think each speech was 15 minutes long. And it just threw the whole timings of the wedding off. All the evening guests were arriving, the speeches were still happening, tea and coffee hadn't been served. The first dance ended up not happening till 9:30, and although the speeches were very funny, it was just too long and not necessary. So keep that in mind, and keep that in mind when talking to people doing the speeches, that you really want to stress you want them punchy, you want them maybe with a bit of humor, you want kind words, but also to keep them to a concise, good amount of time. Other things to think about before the wedding is it's great to let your photographer, your videographer, and the venue know who is doing the speeches so that they are able to then contact those people beforehand and make sure that they have everything that they need. Also, the videographers would need to mic them up so that you can actually record what they're saying. As well as then it gets us a chance to have a look around the room, find out where they're seated so that we can make it flow easily from one speech to the next. Most venues do provide microphones and sound equipment. I know that we do, but this is obviously very important to double check in case you do need to hire that in so that everybody gets a chance to hear the speeches. I think that pretty much covers it. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to send me a quick message or drop a comment below. But that pretty much covers who is supposed to have gifts and who does what speeches. Thanks for watching.